Welcome in, everybody, to episode 10 of Between the Pages. I'm so excited. I can't believe that we made it to episode 10. Um, so this is our last Between the Pages of Halloween, but also for the next couple of weeks, because for the next couple of weeks, myself and the team are going to be working really hard to get ready for day one raid on, what is it? What's the date? The 21st? Okay. Anyway, so for the raid, it's very important to me that we are as prepared as we possibly can be. I'm going to continue to read books. I'm going to continue to take notes, but don't expect between the pages. But if it happens, yay! If not, I'm so sorry. Okay, so to get back to my focus, I'm so sorry. I wanted to go over today's costume that everyone picked on Twitter. If you didn't get a chance to vote for Halloween costumes this segment of costumes and themes between the pages, I'm sorry. But I've enjoyed it so much that I think that I'm going to continue to do it. Maybe not every between the pages, but definitely Massamoon, who has joined me, he hasn't said a whole lot, but he has requested that I recover Beowulf. And I'm going to be in my traditional Viking garb for that, and that's going to be fun. But for today, the votes were in, and everyone wanted Victorian vampires. So I have my two big bangs in. That's why it's a little harder for me to talk than it normally would be. I ordered the new ones, so they'll be in next week. And I'll probably do vampire again. Maybe not Victorian, but whatever. So I've got my beautiful little side braid. You can barely see. I'm so sorry. And I have my black ribbon. I have my favorite anatomical heart cameo. It was between that or my zombie cameo, and anatomical heart just sounded more vampiric to us, so I went with that. Today I am wearing my Victorian coat. I have cool pockets. I have beautiful buttons. Am I thirsty for blood? I'm thirsty for something because my mouth is like always half open. Let me move the chair a little bit. Sorry, guys. I need more room because this is a rather large costume. So I have the coat. It is floofy and beautiful and made of real velvet. I have the traditional nightgown underneath. Well, undergarments, not necessarily nightgown. I have my corset, which is underneath the jacket. Yay, it is very floofy. It is my favorite corset, as you guys know. Velvet scurs you. I love velvet. Anyway, underneath the jacket, I have my traditional skirt, and underneath the skirt is a for-real hoop. I am wearing a hoop skirt. It is a little difficult to navigate my hoop skirt, but I manage. So, how do you guys like it? Is it wonderful? Is it to your liking and expectations of a Victorian vampire? Alright, sorry, my background is swishing in the wind that I'm making. And now I have to move my hoop to sit down. Okay. I've actually had to drive in this particular hoop skirt. It's interesting. I look Amish? Oh my goodness. Ah, wow. I was not going for Amish. You're afraid you're going to damage the velvet? Amish isn't one of them? Farthingle? This is called a farthingle. Okay. Alright. So, yes. That is my vampire costume. Thank you. Thank you, Matter Sky. I appreciate you telling me that my costume looks great. I've never seen the Vampire Diaries. Um, that's something I can definitely write down and look up later. If you recommend, obviously. If you don't like it, then I'm not gonna watch it. Alright, guys, so English and Victorian, very different. Is Vampire Diaries anime? I don't know. I don't know. For Syndicate, is it an anime? Mass, do you know anything about Vampire Diaries? Oh. I'm missing contacts? Well, see, I don't need contacts because my eyes change colors depending on my mood, so I don't really need them. It's a TV show. It was a big hit. All right, I will definitely check it out. Okay, guys. If we are done with the comments on my costume, I'm going to start getting into the content of today's episode. And I'm sorry that this is going to be a little laggy, and I'm sorry that I might be a little difficult to understand. What, Renegade? What's wrong? I'll wait a second. We can start, or we can pause. That necklace, don't you love it? Oh my goodness, one of my very best friends got this for me. It is amazing. I love this necklace. She knows that I'm very anti-romance. Anyway, I wore it for Valentine's Day last year, and I'm probably gonna wear it for Valentine's Day for the rest of my life. So, all right. Let me get this moving. I'm gonna put you guys over here while I read the script. All right, so today's content is covering J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fellowship of the Ring. We've already covered The Hobbit, and we are going to cover the rest of his works later on. But today is the day we're going to go over The Fellowship and the beginning of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, to begin, I have Goodreads spoiler-free synopsis. This is for people who haven't read the book and / or haven't watched the movie. So, one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. In ancient times, the rings of power were crafted by the elven smiths, and Sauron, the Dark Lord, forged the one ring, filling it with his own power so that he could rule all the others. But the one ring was taken from him, and though he sought it throughout Middle-earth, it remained lost to him. After many ages, it fell into the hands of Bilbo Baggins, as told in The Hobbit. In a sleepy village in the Shire, young Frodo Baggins finds himself faced with an immense task as his elderly cousin Bilbo entrusts the ring to his care. Frodo must leave his home and make a perilous journey across Middle-earth to the Cracks of Doom, there to destroy the ring and foil the Dark Lord in his evil purpose. So, that is your spoiler-free synopsis. Anything after that, if you don't want to hear any more of a deep discussion, I recommend you stop watching now. Otherwise, we're about to get into some deep details. I'm going to assume you've either read the book or seen the movies, and we're going to talk about some contrasts or some things that the movie has skipped over. I'm so excited for this. You guys ready? I'm ready. All right, so the first thing that I really wanted to talk about, I mentioned it earlier, was I thought it was funny that Frodo's father's name was Drogo, and I wondered in my head, I was like, did Martin steal more than a lot of things from Tolkien? Nas, what do you think? Am I the only person that thinks that Martin kind of just ripped off Tolkien? I want to say that he, I want to think that all fantasy writers have read Tolkien. But I feel like Martin has taken way too much from him, and Martin's gone. I like the direction he goes in, but at the same time, he tries too hard, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so that has nothing to actually do with the book, but I just thought it was an interesting factoid. Alright, so going into it, I have a question, Mass. Is there a determined amount of years between the time Bilbo departed the Shire and Gandalf returning slash Frodo leaving the Shire to begin his journey? Because we all know that Bilbo left on Frodo's 33rd birthday, because that is when a hobbit is determined to be an adult. But Gandalf didn't really come, like, he came back in and out over the years, but he didn't come back and tell Frodo that he had to leave until Frodo was after 50. And I've reread the book this past week, and I didn't really see a determined, like, a definitive number of years. Yes, on his 111th birthday, and it was Frodo's 33rd birthday. Yeah, in the when he did there and back again. Yeah, he was only gone for a small amount of time. But what I'm talking about is it was years from Frodo receiving the ring to him leaving on his journey to even the prancing pony. You know, so it was almost 20 years or more. Like, it's just determined. It said that after Frodo turned 50, Gandalf came back and he was like, "Oh, by the way, I've been researching everything about this Ring of Power, and we need to take it somewhere so we can destroy it." It took at least 20 years for that to happen, and I never saw the answer to that. So I was hoping maybe Renegade will have an answer, or maybe if someone sees this later on, it was exactly 50 years. Really? I don't know if it was 50 years because Frodo was 50 something when he left. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, um, yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It just, there wasn't a definitive answer. So, all right. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is the character of Smeagol or Gollum. And I really just wanted to talk about how in the book it was said he was originally Hobbit-like, as expressed in the riddles from The Hobbit that we had discussed before and were hinted on in the Fellowship. But I wanted to know, why do we decide it's Hobbit-like? Why why wasn't he a Hobbit? If not a Hobbit, what is he? You know? Yeah, I just thought that was weird. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so next point we're on to. So Frodo lived for 17 days with the Morgul blade tip in his shoulder. Something that I thought was really important in the book versus the movie is the movie, they made it seem like it was a dire thing. He was going to be consumed right then and there by the darkness if they didn't get him to the elven healers. But in the book, we know that he had the tip of the Morgul blade in his shoulder for 17 days while carrying the ring. And I really wanted to emphasize that this speaks to his strength as a ring bearer. If you know anything about me, if you know about my opinions on Lord of the Rings and pretty much Tolkien, I hate Frodo as a character. I think that he's overhyped, but I really think that it was important for everyone to like understand that while Bilbo had the ring for 60 years and he was minorly tainted by the ring, Frodo at this point had it for nearly 20 years and had used the ring and felt Sauron's gaze upon him, which was powerful in and of itself, as well as having the Wraith Blade inside of his body. So I don't know about you, Mass, but I think that's an incredible feat for such a small creature. And people, I think that really says something about how people were really taken aback whenever he was the one that was chosen to be the ring bearer. Well, that's interesting because if you think, yeah, but if you think about how hobbits have been described and how they are treated in like The Hobbit itself, like they just want to stay home. They don't want to go on adventures, as it were. And so they ostracized Bilbo for his, not even just Bilbo, but his family as a Took. Tooks were specifically like, oh, gross. Like, I don't want to be associated with those wild people who go out and do things. You know what I mean? Really? Mm-hmm. No. You're thinking no. The Tooks are yes. They they specifically are ostracized because they're wilder. But I think you're also thinking about Mary, who is a brandy buck who lives across the Brandywine. And okay. All right. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm going to continue on. Mass was still going to be in my ear, so I can react to him faster than me trying to read in chat. But he's also going to add his comments in chat. So we're going to move on. So something I really wanted to cover was I wanted to discuss the interpretation of who was to blame for the snowstorm. Mass, you remember we talked about this earlier. I specifically interpret, and this is why I wanted to discuss this, is because when you read this, you can interpret it in several different ways. But my fear is that the motion picture has predominantly, I don't want to say infected, but influenced the public perception of who was to blame for the snowstorm. So when I read it, it seemed to me that Karadharas, or the mountain itself, it's the Elven word for that particular region, I want to say. But most people would say that Saruman was the catalyst for the snowstorm that they experienced because they weren't close enough to the mountain pass to experience the severity of the snowstorm that they experienced when trying to travel south. And I do recall in the movie that they specifically said that Saruman was conjuring the snowstorm and pushing it farther than it was supposed to be able to reach, and that his reach and his arm had grown long indeed. I do believe is the words that they used. But when I read it, it was more that Carteras had been tainted because like Saruman's reach and influence had gone through, and it wasn't just Saruman himself, Sauron before him, and all of the uh, all of the magical people before had what? Excuse me? The Valor? Yeah, I call him Valor. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Valar. But it seemed to me that the mountain itself had been twisted, just like if you think in farther into the movies and the series, that the forests themselves became dark and twisted. The mountain itself became malicious. And Aragorn, I do believe it was Aragorn that said that, was it Aragorn that said there are creatures older than Saruman or Sauron that had hate for creatures that walked on two legs? Was it Aragorn or was it Gandalf? I want to say it was Aragorn. But for me, it felt like that was a conscious decision of Karadras itself instead of being, hi, Chingy 8. I felt like that. So, okay, you put in your keynotes. I love that. Um, Shake, I actually have done a podcast before. So, yes, that definitely, Renegade, that's true. It could be Eru looking to remove Durin's Bane. Because, I mean, if we remember in The Hobbit, they had said, was it The Hobbit? That the reason that the Balrog was awoken was because that the dwarves had grown so greedy and dug too deep. I believe. Yes. Hmm. And so, like, they want to blame the dwarves, but it could be interpreted a lot of different ways who was the overall influencer. But yes, that's how it felt like to me. So beyond that, what it could be, it really could. And that's something that we'll be discussing a little bit into in a minute. But I did want to say that the Fellowship going into Moria, um, the motion picture was very misleading because it had Gandalf say that they should definitely not go into Moria. This bad something's down there, and it scared him. But really, Gandalf was the one that encouraged the company to traverse into Moria. And Gimli, obviously, was on his side because he's a dwarf and he wanted to go into Moria and see his kin. And it was hard because Aragorn was the one that warned Gandalf that that traveling into Moria would be perilous for Gandalf himself. Boromir was against going into Moria. Legolas and all of the hobbits were wary of the venture, but because Gandalf was the guide and everyone trusted Gandalf, they were like, all right, let's do it. So we're going into Moria basically because Gandalf um, endorsed the option to go there instead of to continue through the snowstorm that was going to kill them because they had to, in order to stay alive, they had to consume the elvish liquor. What is it called? Miravor. Miravor. And that was the only reason that they stayed alive was this magical warming liquor that kept them from freezing to death. Um, but the predominant use of the word Kertaros over the Dwarvish word, Mass, what's the Dwarvish word? Well, anyway, so Kertaros is the Elvish word for the region that they were traveling, the road specifically to Moria. What is it? Barazimbar? Okay, so the word for that region is Barazimbar in Dwarvish, but it was predominantly referred to as Karadharas. Sorry, that's a really hard word to say with these teeth in. And the use of the Elven word as a password to open that particular gate of Moria just echoes the deep kindred friendship between the elves and the dwarves back in the elder days. And you can see the fallout, you can see the consequences of the war that they had between each other whenever Gimli talks to any dwarf, or Gimli talks to any elf, and he is so uncomfortable, and all the elves mistrust the dwarves. Like, especially when they get to Lothlorien, the elves did not want Gimli to come into Lothlorien at all. They were like, no, he has to wait out here. The rest of the company can come in. And Legolas, who had traveled so far with Gimli, was like, no, I'm willing to lay down my life for this guy. And if you don't let him in, we're not going to come in. And they were like, okay, fine, but he has to be blindfolded. And so Gimli was upset by that. And so Legolas was like, if he's blindfolded, we're all blindfolded. Actually, no, I think it was Aragorn that said that. And Legolas was like, well, damn, I'll do this too. So that, I think, speaks volumes on how deep the friendship and how natural the friendship is between elves and dwarves, because even though they have had centuries of turmoil between their races, as soon as the prejudices were proven to be wrong in Legolas and Gimli, they were just natural friends. They came together and they were like, you are my kindred, you are my friend. So I think that using the Elvish word Milon and all of the Elven scroll work that the Dwarvish architect, and I can't recall his name, I'm so sorry. If someone knows his name, please put it in chat. The Dwarvish architect put into that gate to get into Moria. Moria being one of their chief kingdoms, it just really echoes how deep their friendship was. So, yeah, I have all the tidbits. Narvi? Oh, thank you. So when they get to Lothlorien, obviously after Gandalf fell in Moria, so they get into the actual kingdom of Lothlorien, and only two of the Fellowship, two of the 8 that are left, reveal what Galadriel offered them to abandon their quest and go back home, basically to relinquish the ring. And it just leads me to wonder, what in the world would... One, they obviously all passed the test and weren't tempted, but what was it that everyone wanted? Because we find out that Sam just wanted to go home, but he was too invested and committed to Frodo and seeing him through. He said he would go wherever Frodo went. If Frodo wanted to turn back, he would turn back. But if he never did, then he wouldn't either. So that is really interesting. We also find out that Galadriel still kept her ring of power. And I wanted to know what implications did that give. Because we know that all 9 of the mortal rings that were given to the men for power were tainted. We know that where all they all went. We know that the 7 of the dwarves were destroyed, but we don't know exactly where the 3 the elves were given are. We now know that Galadriel still has hers, but what about the other 2? Do the other 2 elf lords have their rings? And also, does Galadriel have some kind of corruption in her because she still maintains her ring of power, which is connected to the One Ring? It's a thought. If anyone has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it. Mass, do you have any thoughts? Well, I'm glad you know all the rings are. We're talking about the Fellowship right now. No spoilers. Okay. And I wanted to share with everybody. Lastly, I wanted to share with everybody the soliloquy that I thought was really powerful for Galadriel. So I'm going to check comments really fast. No new comments? Okay, good. Yes? Who has the second ring? Of the Elven rings? Who? Who? Gandalf has the second ring? Oh. That wasn't his to begin with, though. Uh-huh. Well, there you go. Gandalf has a second of the Elven rings. And it is mentioned in the Fellowship, and I guess I just missed it. I'm the worst. Okay, so on to Galadriel's soliloquy, and this is important to me. So, and now it comes at last. You will give me the ring freely. In place of the Dark Lord you will set up a queen, and I shall not be dark, but beautiful and terrible as the morning and the night, fair as the sea and the sun and the snow upon the mountain, dreadful as the storm and lightning, stronger than the foundations of the earth, and all shall love me and despair. She lifted up her hand from the ring that she wore. There issued a great light that illuminated her alone and left all else dark. She stood before Frodo, seeming now tall beyond measurement, and beautiful beyond enduring, terrible and worshipful. Then she let her hand fall, and the light faded, and suddenly she laughed again. And lo, she was shrunken, a slender elf woman clad in simple white, whose gentle voice was soft and sad. I passed the test. I will diminish, and go into the west and remain Galadriel. So this is really important because pretty much anyone with power would be overwhelmingly tempted to take on the Ring of Power, and they will ultimately be corrupted, and so will all of their great power, which is obviously infinitely dangerous, and it will end up serving Sauron in the end. So it was important that Galadriel was able to, one, she still bore her ring of power that she was given in the beginning of time, and she refused. She was like, no, I know what's going to happen, and I don't want all that. So, Delbert's in here, Mass. Why didn't you tell me Delbert's in here? Hi, Delbert. Oh, okay. Gandalf was gifted his ring, yes. Given him by Certain upon learning of his status. Fantastic. All right. So, if there are any final closing notes, any thoughts? Did you like what we did here, what we discussed? There wasn't a whole lot after Lothlorien other than they started traveling by boat. They were attacked by orcs, and Frodo and Sam decided to part from the rest of the Fellowship. So, if there are no more comments or questions, I would like to end with my favorite passage. And it is my favorite because, well, you know it's my favorite because I have it tattooed on my body, so it better damn well be something I like. And this is one of the original copies of this book, so I have to be very careful. So there are only two lines of the verse long known in elven lore, and it is one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. But it ends with several more verses. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for the mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie, 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. It's a common misconception that the inscription on the ring is the entire poem. I was actually told that, and I was like, I really don't think so. But there is a reason that there's only 2 lines of that known, and it is because that is what is on the Ring of Power. And I doubt my camera can pick it up, but this is my Ring of Power. And I wear it every day. So, is this series is starting, or did you start with The Hobbit? I did start with The Hobbit, Delbert. If you would like, I actually have it posted on my YouTube. So, we're going to end the official part of the video right now because it's better for my editor that I do that, and then we can do a little more Q&A if you like. If my editor likes it, he's going to keep some of this, but I really wanted to thank everyone for coming in. I know Blossom was in here. Chingy8 is in here, or was. I do know that Pro Syndicate was in here a little bit ago. And I really wanted to give those people a shout out. Thank you so much for being in here, Shake. I love that you're here. Renegade, as always, Mass, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate you. I love you guys so much. I appreciate it. But yes, Dilbert, we started with The Hobbit. You can definitely check out that video. I know it's posted. We're going to get this video posted as soon as Failed has time to do his edits. We're going to be postponing the rest of, please excuse me, the rest of Between the Pages until after day one raid. Hi, Hitsu. I'm so glad you came in here. But yeah, we're gonna be postponing the rest of Between the Pages. I may do one or two more, depending on if I need a break from raid prep. But hi, everybody, say hi to Dottie68. I do have my fangs in. These are my fake teeth. Yeah, these are a little too big for me. That's why I'm having trouble speaking and keeping my mouth closed. But my new teeth that are actually going to fit are coming in next week. So I might do a vampire costume again just because. If you want, I can take them out now that I've officially finished the Between the Pages segment. But everyone say hi. She's wonderful. I love her very much. Anyway, but yeah, I can definitely turn around because you guys don't want to see me pull my teeth out. That's probably weird. Give me a sec. See? And I'll put them up there. Anyway, so yeah, now I can talk properly. Mass is in here. I almost said hi, Hitsu. Again, I almost said Matsu. Anyway, Mass Moon's in here, but you guys can't hear him because I apparently suck at figuring out my OBS, and my computer can't handle it. It was supposed to be Renegade in here with me as well, but my computer did not want to handle that. It barely wants to handle this. Please stay tuned, guys. If you guys don't have any more comments about the fellowship or any questions or anything that you'd like to see in the next segment, which is going to be the Two Towers, it's going to be a couple of weeks, if not a month, because I am going to be very busy with raid prep, and that's very important to me. I hope you guys can join us for the team exercises that we're going to be doing this weekend, and from now on, Saturdays are going to be dedicated to team exercises. We're either going to be doing raids or nightfalls, things to get us synergized as teams. So I'm really excited for that. Just for everybody, and because I was not able to be live yesterday on camera, I'm going to set up my Xbox to have the camera on. I don't know how it's going to look. I don't know how bad the backdrop's going to be because it's already pretty bad. LFG is bae. I don't LFG. I hate LFG. I'm going to tell you guys a secret. When I LFG, I keep my mic muted until I absolutely have to talk because life is hard for a girl gamer. Let's just say that. Life is so hard. So yes, thank you guys for stopping in. I hope you guys stick around because I'm about to get Tracer in here. Masamune, Tracer, and I are about to kick some ass in some trials. I don't know if we're gonna kick ass or not. We're a pretty good team, but we get stomped sometimes. Anyway, thanks everyone for sticking around. I appreciate it so much. And I'm gonna boot up Destiny right now, and I will see you guys in a few minutes. Hi team, thanks for sticking around.